It's really good to be with you on this first day of February, where we can open ourselves to not the hallmark kind of love, but to the deeper essence of love and how love shows up or can show up in our relationships. I have to admit, I hit a little imposter syndrome. It's an old imposter syndrome because I would say 13 years ago, when I first started on this spiritual path, I sat down and I was like flowing. And I'm like, I'm going to write a blog. And I wrote the title of the first blog. And the title of the first blog was, What is Love? And I literally sat there for 2 weeks. Like, I don't know what the fuck love is. That was the first and last blog post. It actually never happened. And it's kind of funny because I think that's what this path that we're on is the rediscovery of the love that we are, so we can share and be more love in our relationships and with ourselves and in our lives. But a lot of people talk about this and it's so hard to apply it. I once had a client be like, yeah, I know, self-love, blah, blah, blah. I crack up at that. She and I laugh about that still. Yeah, whatever, self-love, blah, blah, blah. But that's what it kind of starts to sound like, this concept of love and self-love. These are sound bites. God is love. Just bring love, get into your heart. But like, what does that mean? And what does that look like when my husband's being an asshole, right? That is the true question that we as householders are trying to implement some of these deep spiritual concepts, when in reality, it's really hard. It's really challenging to step into every relationship, whether it's with our nemesis or our master teachers, the people who are in our lives to reflect our shadows or our lessons. What does love look like there? Or to our spouse, which we thought was supposed to work out one way based on all the princess movies we all grew up on, and then turns out to be a very different experience that we're never really prepared for. So we're going to start with a centering today to really access our own love and our relationship to loving ourselves, because we all know, at least in concept, that you have to love yourself in order to love someone else. Another cliche that we hear, but is so true. Because if you think about it, if you can't love yourself despite your flaws and your imperfections and your energetic imbalances and your shadow and all of that stuff, if you're in resistance to self, then everything outside of self is a projection or a hologram of what's going on internally within yourself, right? Everything is just a projection. If I'm in resistance to how I look or who I am or what I can or cannot do, or whether I'm a success or failure, or whether I can feel safe with myself, then how can I feel safe and connected and worthy and loved and like I matter and like I exist? It's impossible. Not impossible. But we'll be looking for the love in our life to cover up that which we don't yet have within ourselves, always. So whatever deficiency is living, go right up the chakras. I don't feel safe. I don't feel financially secure. I don't feel connected. I feel betrayed. I feel abandoned. I don't feel like I can stay there with myself. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel valuable. I don't feel like inspired. I don't feel passionate. Maybe my relationship can give me that. I don't feel loved. I can't care for myself. I don't feel care. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. I don't feel like I matter. I don't feel like I can see a way through or beyond. Straight up our chakras. Wherever we have gotten imbalanced, wherever those trauma packets are residing and really blocking our true connection to ourselves, is what we will go then outsource to the people we love. And if you think about that, if If love is a frequency within our hearts, then what that is, that attachment is based in fear. And then we set up our relationships to cover up our own fear and resistance in our bodies, which is setting the relationship up as an objectification of our partners. I don't feel safe. Now you're responsible to make me feel safe. And if you don't make me feel safe, then I don't feel loved. And if I don't feel safe and loved, then it's your fault. Do you see how this works? And what happens is we imprison our partners or our children or our boss or our best friend. We imprison them based on our attachments of what we're needing from them, which sets the entire relationship up on conditions. It's all conditional. Now, we're going to get to next week, how do you set boundaries in relationships? Okay, so I know that a lot of you who have just been going with the flow of the relationship have felt like, but what about me? So we'll get to that. But I just want to really be real about how we set up our relationships. You make me feel needed. You make me feel wanted. You make me feel loved. You make me feel connected to myself. You make me feel not alone. You make me feel safe. You make me feel whatever it is. And because of that, I love you, or I feel love from you. It's my biggest issue with the love languages. What are the love languages? The way that we're attached to getting love. But what if love is simply someone sits in their heart, in the fifth dimensional space of their sacred heart, and can see you in this present moment and be with you in a state of sacred presence? What if that's what love is? And everything else is just a bunch of conditions that got wired into the neurosynaptic patterns of our minds. And we told ourselves that's love. And if I get that, that's love. That's how people get into toxic relationship with narcissists or with other trauma bonds that were set up from childhood. So what if we start pulling those conditions out of our relationship? How do we do that? Well, we have to do that by healing that part of ourselves that doesn't feel blank enough. Because that part of ourselves, for me, it was my root and sacral chakra. So I was like, hey, honey, you look like you've got a nice solid root chakra. That's hot. Let's couple up. I could outsource my root chakra to you, and I'll feel so nice and safe. This is what we do. This is what I did. My husband's got a nice solid root chakra. I found that very attractive. Nice and steady and stable, reliable. I'll call that love. You be strong and stable and consistent because I'm not. And we'll call that love. The moment you stop supporting me or stabilizing me or being my rock, I don't feel loved. Where's the love? Where is the love? Right? So it always comes back to us. It always comes back to how can I, and now we're going to go into a centering on the sacral and the heart. If I really look at love in relationship, love being the heart chakra, relationship being the sacral. The heart chakra is about giving love, receiving love, being compassionate and loving to yourself, being able to receive love. That's what the heart is. It's about having an equal amount of receptive love and an equal amount of giving love. Usually we're blocked on one or the other, and therefore things get imbalanced. We're either giving, and we're not receiving, asking for help, or saying, hey, over here, give to me. I'm ready. And we're not setting up our relationships such as that. We'll talk about that next week. We take on the caretaker role. If I take care of you, you feel loved, you make me feel safe, we're good. Right? Or You could be like me. I was a taker. Take. Yeah, just give it to me. I'll take more. I'll take more. And so my work was, how do I give? How do I find generosity? How do I develop my heart? And you can see how these two people can get into a relationship with each other. I'll be the giver, you be the taker. Well, what happens 20 years later when you're kind of like done giving and you're ready to receive? So having a balanced heart within yourself and what you receive and what you give is absolutely critical. Am I giving to myself? Am I nourishing myself? Am I coming to the relationship from a place of wholeness such that I'm not dependent on that love for me to feel loved? Because me and the divine and the earth and my sacred heart, we're good. We're a self-fulfilling system. And anything you give me is a cherry on top. Anything I give is from the overflow of my heart, not from my reserves, not from what I should have been giving to myself. Okay, so a balanced heart chakra from an inner alignment perspective, from my perspective, is I receive from myself, I give to myself, I have a nice closed circuit within myself, within divine, with the earth, all above, below, and with myself, okay? And then with other, I am so full and whole that I give from the overflow, not from my reserves, not from that which I don't have, because that will just end up in depletion and will damage the relationship in the long term. That's when relationships come to me in our inner alignment work. I see that after that pattern's run its course for 15 years. So that's the heart chakra. There's also the Hrit Padma chakra, which is where the sacred heart is, which is where we access that overflow of the divine nectar that's wired into our hearts and is like an ever-flowing waterfall of love that pours into our being, which is why we don't need it from outside if we can get it from within our own sacred heart space. Then we have our sacral chakra. Sacral chakra always has been a mystery to me because I didn't really have I didn't have a very depleted sacral chakra. So it's been kind of studying the people who have solid sacral chakras and like surrounding myself with them, quite frankly, my entire life, because I didn't have one. So what do they have? And what have I been building for 15 years straight and will build for the rest of my life, because this is my life's work, the heart and the sacral, my work. That's why I feel like a bit of an imposter talking about what it is when there are many of you who are the experts of this, not me. This is my work. So for me, what I see in a lot of the couple sessions that I do is the sacral is about staying in the connection, being and staying. Now, there's no doubt some people stay too long because they have too much energy here and they stay. They're like professional stayers. And that's not what I'm suggesting here. I'm not suggesting staying until the damage has been done. That, and then we talk about the will and the throat chakra in a relationship, which is an important balance to those who have a strong heart and sacral, who are good at loving and staying. Your work is to develop the will and the truth in the relationship. Okay? Those of us who are weak in the staying, we play hungry hippo love. You know the game of hungry hippos? Yeah? Okay. So it looks like this. I love you. I'm scared and hiding. I love you. I'm scared and hiding. I love you. I'm going to chase you past my space and then go like be your love for you. Okay. So what we want, instead of hungry hippo love, which is a withdrawing and a hiding, and I love you, but like I'm protecting myself, or I love you, but I don't even know myself and I'm not connected to myself. So instead of that, what we want is to keep our hungry hippo heads straight in the center, maintaining the connection when it gets hard, when it gets scary, when those hard conversations show up, when it's time to really fire through. It's how do we keep ourselves there in the relationship, not doing both sides of the relationship, which is what that kapha will do. Oh, I'll do everything. I'll do all of the connection. I'll be in charge of all connection in the relationship. That's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about staying, because those vata pittas, or those without a secure attachment, will be like, I love you, but I'm scared. And I'm scared and I'm protecting. And that won't give us a nice, solid, staying connection. I see this so much. There's usually at least one person who's pulling back and therefore can't maintain that connection. This has been so much work for me with my children. Like, I just want to be done. Those of us with vata or pitta might go into disposability in the relationship. Like, I'm done. I just can't. And so what my pitta kapha friends have taught me is how to stay when it gets hard, and to stay in it with love and strength and care. That doesn't come naturally to all of us. To be in sovereignty and strength and love with strong boundaries and care, that's some gorgeous stuff right there. So heart chakra and sacral chakra, staying, keeping the connection. To do that, we have to stay connected to ourselves, stay present to ourselves. You can see how love breaks down in a relationship pretty easy. Someone gets stressed at work or starts to have mental health issues or whatever, they shut down. Connection, wah, 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 right? If one person disconnects, then that mutual connection stops. But does that mean the love has to go away? Well, this gets back to the everlasting love that's within our hearts. What is love beyond the exchange? What is that love? And that's where we talk about long-term relationship. So I've been with my husband for 23 years or so. There have been points where both of us have been going through our stuff at different times, where one of us was disconnected from ourselves. So what does that look like in two sovereign whole people if one goes under construction for like 2 or 3 years? I think that's the question, because when we talk about long-term relationship, the reality is we're human and we struggle. And it's not easy, and we have our own issues. So if I don't need my connection to myself through my connection to you, what does love look like with two humans going through their lifelong journey together? And so what it has looked like for me is, how do I stay connected to myself and stay in a state of presence and love for that human across with compassion, without enabling the person going to sleep for 3 years, and without needing him to be any different than he is in this moment? What is that balance? What does that look like? I think it's different for every couple. So for me personally, it means, I can tell you for each of us, and I don't have time to get into the doshas, but this is different for every doshic makeup, every different element. This morning during meditation, I was like, thinking that the biggest issue that I see in relationships is that I'll see a hummingbird married to a panther. And the panther's like lazing in the sun and is like, why the hell don't you come laze in the sun with me, hummingbird? What the fuck? Right? And then the panther will be like, come on. And the hummingbird will get scratched by the panther's claws and think that they're not loved because of the scratch. What I see is two very different natures coming together and projecting their nature on the other person. a panther with a hummingbird means a panther needs to learn what a hummingbird needs and is, and respect hummingbirdness. So this is a Vata female with a Pitta Kapha male, for example. I often see this. The hummingbird needs to move. It needs to like move from flower to flower. The panther just needs to chill and like get the prey. So how do these two natures live in a relationship that's mutually nourishing? Well, the panther loves the hummingbird because of how flitting and light and colorful it is. And the hummingbird loves the panther because it can chill and it can ground and it can get its prey. And I'm using this analogy to just break it down. This is what I see almost in every marriage, is these two different animals that don't feel loved because of the nature of each animal. So this is where self-understanding and understanding of the elements around us is absolutely critical, because often we're making up that we're not loved because that person's nature is their nature. And that's just not true most of the time. But here's a secret. In every relationship that I have been able to intervene in and help restore love, what I realized is that each partner couldn't see each other in the present moment. They just couldn't see each other because they were so covered with the veil of judgment and shoulds, and I'm not getting this and I'm not getting that, and all of the emotions and the energetic imbalances and all of this stuff, that when you start to pull the veil and I can just see this human in front of me and I start reflecting, oh, this human is like this and this is their nature, and oh, look at their good intention, how sweet, and I just start to highlight that person, then this person can finally see that person after 20 years of covering them up with all of the distortions that have been in their marriage. Because each person just wants love. They just want to be seen and loved and accepted exactly where they're at in this present moment. That's all any human being wants. Love. A state of presence, the willingness to see and to love what is seen exactly how they are right here, right now, without any judgments, shoulds, expectations, changes, anything. Eckhart Tolle talks about this, right? The presence, just pure presence, to show up with someone without all of the things and the needs and the obligations and all of the shoulds, in a state of seeing them and loving what is. Easier said than done. So the words that I recommend in these situations that are tough to love is, what does love look like here? Oh my God, this person is totally, I got a nasty email from my email listserv yesterday. Tons of judgment. And I looked at myself and I'm like, what does love look like here? Maybe love looks like mirroring the behavior. Maybe love looks like bringing humor. Maybe love looks like not interacting. What does love look like here? There's no right answer per se. It comes from the whole, what would Jesus do? I used to wear those bracelets. I ran a church at Syracuse University. And so we had the what would Jesus do bracelets. But it's really, what would love do? How does love look? It really pisses people off when I send them that text when they're doing the work and they're like, my boss is such an ass. And I'm like, all right, well, what does love look like here? Some people have an easier time doing that for someone else than themselves. Sometimes they have an easier time doing it for themselves first. Everyone's wired up differently. You'll see some people with kapha constitution can give that to other, but are not able to give that to themselves. So then that's where the work is. Like, oh, you're so good at giving it to other people. What does love for you look like? Does it mean saying no? Does it mean staying home? Does it mean getting to the gym? What does love look like here? So let's go into a 5-minute centering on this and just integrate this. If you take one hand on your chest, one hand on your low belly, take a deep breath into both of those spaces. Exhale. Just let your belly hang. What does it look like to love your belly as your hand sits underneath it? Deep breath. Exhale. Let's activate the violet flame from your soul flame within your sacred heart. Deep breath into your heart. And that flame, push the violet flame now upward, downward, outward, into every cell of your body. Calling in the divine love. I am divine love. I am the love that does not wish to possess. I am the love that has no expectation. I am love incarnate. I am divine love. That kind of love just exists. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be a certain way. It just is. You are that love. And so is that other person in your life. They're already that love. Even if they're not on their spiritual path, every soul is this love. Deep breath here. Exhale, push the violet flame, the pink flame. We're going to pull out of the violet flame, which is the sacred fire of divine love. Feel that pink light penetrate deeply into your heart, into your low belly. And as you relate to yourself, if you will, just connect to that question. What does love look like toward myself, with myself? What does my self-love look like? What does love look like here within me? As you call the violet flame into that, just let the violet flame reveal to you the vision and the feeling of that love. Your relationship with yourself. Let it reveal what's out of alignment with yourself. As you breathe that sacred fire in, through, and around you, don't let your ego in there. The ego might say, well, loving myself means I get to the gym and lose 20 pounds. That's not true. Love is pure acceptance in this present moment. What's blocking my full love and acceptance? Just let the seeds get planted as you recite to yourself, I love you. Thank you for loving me. I love you. Thank you for loving me. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for loving me. You don't have to figure anything out. You just need to do it. Just love yourself. Just start with that. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up and listening to this today. Thank you. I love you. So then, if you will, move into the person that's been hard to love. And as you picture that person, just allow yourself to connect to what you thought you were going to get, what you thought you needed, what you thought should be. And as you connect to whatever has gotten in the way of your being with what is in that person, pour the violet flame into that person, into the relationship, which is an act of love to purify the connection, the karma, and offer them, I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you for loving me. Receive their love from their soul, because their soul is interconnected to your soul. They have a soul and they are connected to the oneness. So connect to the love of that oneness in their soul for you. Their ego might not know, but their soul does. I love you. Thank you for loving me. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for loving me. Let the violet flame cut the cords and burn up the karma and the gook and the lineage, the ancestral lineage stuff that you and that person have carried and played out. And you're just putting your axe down. You're saying, okay, that's enough. I'm ready for love here. I love you. Thank you for loving me. Thank you. And as you offer this relationship into the violet consuming flame, just allow yourself to imagine, what does love look like, feel like? What does neutrality feel like? Love is neutrality. As you send the violet flame deeper in to their lineage and yours, just allow yourself to feel a taste of neutrality. Them doing their thing and having their path and playing out their karma and getting their lessons, you having done the same. Restoring back to that space of, okay, we were all playing parts for each other. Thank you for playing that part. Thank you for those lessons. Thank you. And then, if you will, command the violet flame to continue showing you what love looks like. Whether love looks like fire, where your truth and your strength is there. Whether love looks like just staying grounded, being earthy. Whether love looks like moving around the issue, flowing through the issue, the relationship. What does love look like here? And if you will, just trust that the seeds have been planted within your heart. And command that this relationship be restored to right relationship, be restored back to the oneness, the love, and the divine perfection that it already is. And you can seal that by saying, and so it is done. And so it is done.
And done.